Imagine waking up one day to find out your Social Security check is smaller, your SNAP benefits no longer cover groceries, or your Medicaid coverage is gone. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, for millions of Americans, this could soon become a reality. With $2 trillion in budget cuts on the table, programs like Social Security, Medicaid, and SNAP are at risk. But what does this really mean for you? In this video, we'll break it all down. What's being cut, why it matters, and how it could impact your life. Stick around, because this is information you can't afford to miss. Hello everyone. Let's start with the basics. The latest budget proposal from Congress includes a plan to cut $2 trillion in mandatory spending over the next decade. Mandatory spending covers programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP, programs that millions of Americans rely on every single day. But here's the thing. These programs are legally required to be funded unless Congress changes the rules. So when there's talk of cutting $2 trillion, it's natural to wonder, what's on the chopping block? And more importantly, how will it affect you? Let's talk about Social Security first. It's one of the largest parts of the federal budget, making up about 21% of total spending. That's roughly $1.5 trillion a year. So when there's talk of cutting $1.5 trillion a year, it's hard to imagine Social Security won't be affected. Officially, lawmakers say they don't want to reduce benefits, but some are pushing for reforms to cut wasteful spending within the program. What does that mean for you? If you're currently receiving benefits, there's no immediate change. But in the long term, cuts could lead to longer wait times for customer service, reduced administrative support, or even changes to how benefits are calculated. Next up, SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which helps over 40 million Americans put food on the table. This program is facing some of the deepest cuts, with a proposed $230 billion reduction over the next decade. How? Stricter work requirements, limits on state waivers, and potentially lower benefits. The timing couldn't be worse, with food prices still high due to inflation. Cutting food assistance now could push even more families into food insecurity. Imagine having to choose between paying rent or buying groceries. This could become a reality for millions. Then there's Medicaid, which provides health care for low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities. The proposed budget includes an $880 billion cut to the program, and one of the most likely changes is adding stricter work requirements. This could mean that unemployed individuals or those who don't meet certain criteria might lose access to health care. For millions of Americans, this could be a matter of life and death. Think about it. What happens if someone with a chronic illness can no longer afford their medication? But it's not just these programs. Education, infrastructure, and workforce development are also on the table. For example, the Education and Workforce Committee is expected to see a $330 billion cut, which could impact public schools, job training programs, and more. At the same time, spending is increasing in other areas, like defense and border security, which are set to receive billions in additional funding. The question is, are these the right priorities? So why are these cuts happening? Supporters argue that reducing government spending is necessary to manage the national deficit and encourage self-sufficiency. They believe programs like SNAP and Medicaid have inefficiencies, and that reforms like work requirements will help. On the other hand, opponents warn that these cuts could have devastating effects on vulnerable populations, increasing poverty and worsening health outcomes. They also argue that cutting education and infrastructure funding could harm long-term economic growth. Where do you stand on this debate? Let me know in the comments. The bottom line? These proposals are still just that, proposals. They have to go through a long process before anything is finalized, and there's already pushback from lawmakers on both sides. That's why it's so important to stay informed and take action. And let me know in the comments. What do you think about these proposed budget cuts? Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.